All right, David, thanks for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
This is one I've been looking forward to an awful lot over the last week, and we've been in conversation about this. You're David Gavri, the Gavri Group, Las Vegas Realtors is how we would classify you today, but you have such an interesting backstory that goes along with this. And for anyone who's listening to this, you just finalized the sale of my home not that long ago. Interesting story, it's also the home that you once lived in, and you sold it 2 times in the last 2 years. So crazy. We're going to dig into that a little bit. But as we were preparing for this and we had a short conversation, hearing the rest of your background, because it's not just that you are a realtor in Vegas, but it's where you came from. And being new to Vegas over the last couple of years, coming from the Chicago area, but you've got a strange background, stand-up comedy, poker playing to support yourself. Like, help me understand, how do we get from Chicago, stand-up comedian, poker player out here to Vegas, and now you are selling $1 million homes for people and consulting them as they work to find a home in Vegas?
Yeah, wow. Honestly, that's such a I probably have such a chip on my shoulder from the years of disappointing my parents. Like literally, like we have a great relationship now, but to me it was just like, wow, I really fell into real estate. I fell into an opportunity to remodel a home, which I didn't know where it was going to lead. And in that, it led me to commercial property management. And then from there, it led me to real estate. And it really gave me a master's course in real estate and everything that encompasses it. And before that, just the comedy life, all I was trying to do was just maybe have a career in show business, whether it was not necessarily a performer, but probably behind the scenes. I was running shows and festivals and even a comedy club at one point. And so I was learning the business, not knowing that the business tactics and the business mindset would stem from that and then apply to all aspects of my life, not even in real estate, but also in family as well. So really, I attribute any inkling of success that I experience now to those days of just not even knowing what to do and not even knowing where it would lead, but knowing that at this moment, this is what I wanted to do, despite maybe friends and family not agreeing with me doing it at the time. So.
Yeah. Well, let's go all the way back, because I'm so struck by this. I've got a couple of buddies that are stand-up comedians down in San Diego. And I've always thought there's got to be something wrong with you to want to get up on a stage and just start telling jokes. Like, you have to bomb, right, to get good at that.
Right. Well,
I mean, have you
anything.
bombed before? Have you been on stage and
Oh,
bombed?
yeah.
And,
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
So
But
that's like
anything, right? Anything you start, you're not going to be good at it in the beginning, no matter what venture it is, business, art, whatever.
What is it that made you want to get into that? Like, why get up and make people laugh and put yourself at risk in order to make that happen?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. I joke about my parents really wanted me to be a doctor. And had they really wanted me to be a comedian, I probably would have become a doctor.
Interesting. Okay. So it was almost that push from them and what their desires were, the lack of relationship that was there at the time, that the independent spirit, the rebellion,
Sure.
is that really what it was that kind of pushed you to, all right, I'm moving away and I'm going to go do stand-up comedy?
I think so. Definitely some of that. And also probably just really being passionate about something that was different, that was completely out of the box. I went to a high school of 5,000 kids. Not one single one of them ever went into stand-up. And so to me, it was like, I want to do something that's so unique and so different and so challenging that how dare you even tell me I can't do that? Like, just you telling me I can't do this makes me want to do that.
Yeah.
Which is silly because, I was like 19, 20, 21 at the time. Like, that's silly. But, at the same time, it was a challenge. And I said, I'm going to treat this like a job, and I'm going to actually treat it as something that I'm going to get good at incrementally, day after day, week after week, and then see the progress from there and see where it leads.
So you acknowledge the fact that a life in stand-up comedy is difficult to make it. And you had family telling you, please don't do this.
100%.
Okay. So what was that like to just know I'm going against what they want me to do and I'm going to blaze my own path for me?
Yeah. I think it was just, this is something I really want to do. I don't know where it's going to lead. I know that I'm going to get some nuggets of wisdom out of this, and I don't know where it's going to take me, but I know that this is the path that I want. And I'm just going to let myself be guided by my own intuition, and which is a scary thing because most people take on a path that is laid out for them already. You want to become a doctor, you take these courses, you pass these tests, you take this residency experience, blah, blah, blah. And same for anything, engineering, accounting, whatever. With stand-up, it was like, you're in the jungle. You have no idea what to do.
Yeah.
And the only way to navigate this jungle is to just take on mentors and find people and really just see what it is that they went through. What can I learn from that? What can I learn from the negative aspects of these mentors? And how can I take the best of them and apply it to my own self so that I can be the best that I can be? And it's really, really scary because you're in the trenches, especially the first couple of years. The failure rate is like 95%. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, you bomb. Like, you have to bomb, and you also have to be crazy enough to say, yeah, I got this. I'll be good.
Yeah.
I'll be fine.
What does it feel like to bomb up on stage? Like I think back to my years in high school and forgetting the lines of the song I was supposed to sing or whatever. But what does it feel like to be up on a stage in front of a ton of people and just know like what I'm doing? Like they hate it. Like I'm about to start getting heckled, tomatoes to be like, what does that feel like?
I'm only 20 seconds in. I got 4 more minutes to go.
I can't imagine. Like, could you express like how that makes you feel?
I mean, it just feels very deathly. It feels like I am literally dying up here. I think there was a documentary called "I'm Dying Up Here," and I think that's why in comedy, when you do well, they say "I killed." Like, it's extreme. You killed. But if you bombed, oh, I died. I died up there. It's very sink or swim. It's do or die. And but also, I don't know, I can't just isolate it to comedy. I would have to relate it to business too. And I would probably ask you the same thing. What is it like when you want to take on a client or you want to take on some kind of a business deal, business venture, and then maybe they don't want to work with you? Maybe, there's rejection there too. I would maybe compare it to that potentially.
I would say it's the closest you could get to it would be in the game that you and I are both in right now of making content. Because everything is public. And so if I'm putting you up on a stage in front of 500 people bombing, is that the equivalent of posting a video in front of all your friends and family and it gets 13 views?
Yeah.
Because everyone can see the views that you get. They can see how much engagement you get. And they also know how much effort you're putting in to that content to see it not go anywhere. And it's like, dude, what are you doing? I mean, that's the closest thing I could see to being up on a stage. And frankly, I don't have what it takes to go up on a stage. I'm not a funny guy. I've tried. That was just at home. If I can't get my wife to laugh at me, there's no way I'm going to get the crowd going with it. So I have a lot of respect for your willingness to be able to do that. But let's shift to, there's not a lot of money in comedy unless you're one of the top people and you're getting paid to be the, what do they call it, the headliner?
Sure.
So if you're not the headliner and trying to make it, part of your story that's so interesting to me is that you were supporting yourself during this time by playing poker. Like, tell me about, was it just like cash games? Like you playing tournaments?
Cash games. I think that whoever can do tournaments, like to live that life, that's a special breed of people.
Yeah.
It's such a roller coaster ride. Cash, at least. And that really taught me to keep spreadsheets and to manage P&Ls. Like that was the first. If anything, it was more money management. I cannot say that I'm a good poker player. I'm a very good money manager. I take Mary to the casino. She likes to play blackjack, roulette. I manage her chip stack, and I'm like, okay, all right, we're up this percentage. We should leave. The casino's gonna get us.
There we go. So you don't play like blackjack and roulette.
No,
you stick to poker.
No. I'm so biased.
That you are playing it by the numbers, playing it by the math. Is that why? And you know that you can't win in roulette long term?
Yeah, I think I've just met enough people who work at the casino, for the casino, the higher ups in the casinos, that this whole, I mean, I'm not here to crap all over the casinos. We are in Las Vegas after all, but
that is right.
They are businesses designed to get money out of you. And so I think maybe my cynical side is like, ooh, I see the matrix. I see what's going on here. I'm not going to fall for it.
Okay.
So I'm going to go play poker where at least I could just play against other people. And still, luck is a heavy factor. And still, I know that I'm going to lose a percentage of the time. But
so what are you playing like 1-3, 2-5? Like what is someone who's supporting themselves go to the casino, you get to the poker table and you tell them, hey, put my name down for what?
You got to be at least 2-5, if not 5-10. Or when I was playing in Chicago, they had mixed games. And so the mixed games were 25-50. And so I think the lower 1-3 is great if you're just starting, but the rake itself will already eat away at your profits. Yeah. So it's a good one to play. Like, family comes to town, let's go play poker for a couple hours. Let's go play 1-2, sure.
Yeah.
But if you're serious and you're managing your P&Ls in poker, like I think 2-5 at the very least.
Interesting. There's this thought to me about risk tolerance and the people who have the willingness at a young age to go and play poker and learn poker, and there's a little bit of like gambler that's there in you, but you also know that you have an edge associated with that. But to me, it seems that the same risk tolerance it takes at a young age to play poker is the same risk tolerance that it takes later in life to pay for performance jobs or entrepreneurial type ventures where it's okay, I'm willing to put all my chips down right here, the last $200 I have, to call that guy's bluff because I'm pretty sure I got him beat. Like, do you make that association when it comes to poker when you think about risk tolerance of what you're doing today versus what you were doing 10 years ago in Chicago?
Yeah, I would say the only difference though, 10 years ago in Chicago, this is before kiddos, right? I'm a family man, father of two. So I think my ability to I would say my risk tolerance is still there, but the only difference is now that I can't be straight up stupid about it.
Sure.
Whereas
when you were straight up stupid about it in Chicago?
When I was 22, sure, because okay, if I go all in and I'm wrong, it's okay. I'm still 22 and it's just me. I've got nobody else to support but myself. I'll bounce back from this. But now, as things get more serious, again, the risk is still there. I think it's just more calculated, more wise, and really just smarter. And I think that comes with life experience too, probably.
Yeah.
So I think it just has to do with, hey, let's still take risks because no risk, no reward, but let's be smart about it.
Yeah. Okay, so part of my story that people don't know about me is I used to be a poker dealer.
Ooh.
Hollywood Park Casino out in Los Angeles. When I was going to school in Riverside, I would drive an hour to get there. I only dealt tournaments. But the thing that struck me, and I also played a lot of poker too, I was very struck by the fact that there's a fine line between the gambler and the person who's being like irresponsible. And I can resonate with this because there were times that I took the last $200 I had to the poker room, and I was lucky enough to have a good night that night and come away with $500, which was life-changing money when you're in college. But it was also, I sometimes wonder, like, what would have happened if I had lost like that night? And I'm literally going home with like $0. You ever have one of those like irresponsible nights in the casino where you come in to be disciplined and to gamble, but also to be there as an investor, and then you realize, okay, what do they call it? You have, and when you're playing poker and your fate has changed in bad years, I'm running cold or something like that.
Okay.
So that happens, and you start to like gamble. Okay, yeah, it's a 9-7 offsuit, but I'm gonna play this hand out of position. Like, did you recognize moments where you were doing that, even though you were trying to be there and be very disciplined in your approach?
Sure. So I'll say this, and this is going to sound really silly, but I think poker made me a better person, which is super ironic and kind of like, what the heck does that mean? And in that, to me, to be successful in something like poker where your money's on the line all the time, it forced me to get good sleep the night before. It forced me to eat better so that I would have a focused brain day of. Like I can't have drinks the night before and be hungover and then expect to win money. I could probably lose. So I guess my whole point being, it makes you very self-aware that, oh, hey, if I'm hungover today, I'm probably more irritable. And then therefore, if I lose a hand, I'm going to get extra frustrated and do something that's irresponsible. So I think in answer to your question, the whole point is to be as responsible and grounded and focused as possible while you're there every minute for as many hours as you're sitting there. Because once you slide into, F it mode, you're done. You're done.
Yeah.
And I think
I'm on tilt. That's what I was looking for earlier.
Tilt?
I'm on tilt. How do you avoid getting on tilt when you're doing it to actually make money?
So I read The Mental Game of Poker by Jared Tendler. It's a great book. I think he also has another one called The Mental Game of Trading, and he's also a golf coach. So I got really heavy into like mental focus and mental health and just how to have the right mind when you're at the poker table. And he goes into various forms of tilt. Not just there's winner's tilt too on the positive end. When you're winning, you're like, these are just chips. I don't care. Like there's that kind of tilt too, as opposed to the other kind of tilt that you're mentioning when you're losing.
Yeah.
And everything in between that. So I think the whole point of it was to just really understand yourself and learn as much about yourself, what ticks, what makes you frustrated, what makes you angry, what makes you, just anything other than that deviates from the norm. And for me, I've applied that to business too, because not every business transaction is going to be smooth sailing. Like most of them aren't. And then most clients you work with, you were fantastic, by the way, but other clients that you work with are they're not going to be maybe your ideal, they're not always going to act the way you want them to act.
Sure.
And so what, are you going to let that, are you going to derail the transaction? Like, are you going to go on tilt in business because something didn't go your way? So to me, poker was just a lesson in getting beat up and maintaining an even mind and just saying, okay, we got this, not letting yourself get frazzled by any type of pressure or anything. Things go wrong, fires come up, and you have to put out fires, not literally, but figuratively.
Yeah.
And how do you handle that? And so for me, poker was just learning how to handle like ultra pressure situations just very, very calmly.
I love it. Okay, we have to shift, but I want to ask you a couple questions real quick, fast ones. What's your favorite hand to get dealt in poker?
Okay, so this is a silly one, and if anyone who I know from high school is watching this right now, because I learned how to play poker during the Chris Moneymaker era. So
Okay.
I was probably in 10th grade, right? So me and my buddies were all playing poker. We're watching. This is when the poker boom first began, if any poker nerds out there, right?
Yeah.
And so we're playing. We're watching Chris Moneymaker. We're watching Sam Farha with his cigarette. We're watching Raymer with his dinosaur glasses and all the characters that came through that era of poker. And for whatever reason, one of the worst hands, which is 3-8, for some reason, we're talking, I'm like 16 years old. I'm in F it. Like, I'm learning how to play the game. Whatever, 3-8. I'll go 3-8. First time I played this crap hand, I hit a full house.
No way.
And nobody put me on 3-8. They're like, he probably has aces or something. I think I can beat aces because maybe somebody else had an 8 or whatever. And then they look at my hand like, 3-8, you play that trash? I'm like, I won. And so it became like a running joke among my high school like buddies, my poker buddies, which was, he's playing the 3-8 again. So in this day and age, if I'm in the main event, something crazy, would I play that? Probably not.
Yeah.
But that's when you
Or
asked
maybe you should get that full house in the main event.
Maybe, right?
Okay,
The
so
risk.
every poker player has that hand that on paper is a really good hand. Some people it's pocket kings, pocket queens, but when they see it, it's like, I should just fold now. Because you've had such bad luck with that hand. What is that hand for you?
Okay.
That you get it, it's supposed to be good, but you're like, nope, I'm not winning this hand.
Oh man, I wish I had a more fun answer. To me, my strategy is always situational. It's always who's in the hand, who's not in the hand. What's my position versus their position? I feel like I can win with any hand, and I feel like also I can lose with any hand too, depending on the situation. But that's how I saw it, because I was like trying to take it like a business and not just like, ooh, I got Jack 10 suited. That looks fun. Like,
Yeah.
I have Jack 10 and I bet, and then I get 6 people calling. Like now I'm in this is a lottery now.
Yeah.
So I kind of try to target like who can I take on as an opponent based on my position versus their position, based on how are they doing? Are they maybe tilted a little bit? Maybe they're not having a good night, and I can maximize on their weakness perhaps.
Yeah.
So I kind of just look at it like that. I know it's a boring answer.
But it's not. I think so much of poker is perception, like what you perceive from them and what you perceive them to be perceiving of you at the same time. That's a great segue to go into the real estate conversation. My first question is around perception and what you've seen when you talk to someone for the first time and you ask them, is there a number in mind that you're hoping to get when we sell this home? The difference between their perception and the actual reality at the end of the day. What are your thoughts about how well average consumers perceive the value of their home?
Yeah. Okay, so a real estate transaction is a very emotional process, right? People are emotionally attached to their home for the most part. So it's normal to overvalue your home, and that's okay. Because at the end of the day, it's all guesswork. It's an art and a science. We can run all the comps, we can do all the analyses that we could best price your home with, but at the end of the day, it's what the market is going to do. And I'll never forget working with you. You said this that really stuck with me. You go, okay, let's price it at this, and we'll see what the market says. I said, wow, that's like really profound. We'll see what the market
Made me
says.
seem like a savant of some sort. You know?
Well, really, it was like, yeah, because that's out of our control. What is in our control is running the comps, doing the analysis, and then even at the end of the day, if the market takes a turn, that's out of our control. We can't, foresee that coming, but all we can do is do what is in our control. So sure, it might be normal or more typical for people to overprice at the very beginning, especially if they've lived there for 10, 20, 30 years even. Oh, this is
Yeah.
this was my home. Like, it's not just a property, it's their home.
Yes.
And
It comes with all the memories inside of it too,
yeah,
right? That's how you kind of
right,
perceive that. It's
right.
like no one else wants those memories, ma'am. Okay.
yeah, or your wallpaper, or
Yeah.
your style of decor just isn't the other person's style of decor, maybe. So I don't know, that part too is a balance in because at the end of the day, I want you to be happy. I want you to get the price that you wanted.
Yeah.
And so therefore, let's shoot for that price. Let's see what the market says. And then after that, let's reevaluate. Because who am I to tell you? I mean, yes, I'm a realtor, but at the end of the day, in this scenario where they're very attached to their home and it's such an emotional process, sure, I'll do my best to get that price that you want. Although, according to our comps, this is where we may sell, but let's shoot for the moon. What's the worst that could happen?
Yeah. Is that something that when someone is super far off in their perception versus the comps, where they may choose someone else over you that tells them what they want to hear? You're like, okay, your house is worth 800,000, and like, well, they're saying they can sell for 1.2. Like how much do you see of that in this competitive environment now of people that want to have sellers listings, of them not being so much honest about what it's actually going to sell for down the road?
Yeah, I mean, that's a fine line too, because I don't want to just tell you what you want to hear. I need to give you the information that is going to actually put money in your pocket and increase your net worth by selling your largest asset. And so, yeah, we've definitely been in situations that you just described. Oh, hey, this person over here tells me I can get 20 million for my house.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, well, maybe at the end of the day, I have to be okay with walking away. Yeah. Like in any business deal, I'm sure with you too, we have to be aligned on the same page in some aspect. And if you're so far off to where, and that's your goal, and I know for a fact I can't attain that, like I won't even try to tell you like, oh yeah, I can get you a ridiculous amount. I can maybe get you this ridiculous amount, but to a certain extent. Yeah. So you have to be matched on both sides. Yeah. It can't just be, okay, you give me what I want and that's it. Like it has to be two ways.
I do think being willing to walk away, that has to come from poker a little bit. Like you can always fold your good hand. You don't have to run with every good hand that you get. Like, do you think about the parallels of poker and real estate at that level because of your background? Are you always playing a hand, figuring out like, 7 deuce, no, I don't know about this.
I think for sure in the negotiation process, I've worked with clients that are literally like, I could care less. Like, let's go all in every time. I'm willing to walk away from any interested buyer until I get what I want. Yeah. But then there's the other ones on the flip side that are just, I'll take what I can get. And so as a realtor, you can't play poker with somebody else's house. Like I will only have the level of risk that you, the seller, are willing to take on, or you, the buyer, even. So I don't know. I kind of look at it as like I'm your guide to this whole thing. Yeah. And so if you want to be a crazy gambler, you buyer or you seller, let's get crazy. Yeah. But also if you want to just be a little bit more reserved, we can do that too.
It's good to have the variability, at least the option to be flexible for the client, I think. And that's one of the things in our transaction where I was very happy to wait around for 4 or 5 months if we needed to. Yeah. And just to not show any, I guess, weakness to the market of like, oh, we're cutting the price by 25,000. Offer comes in 200,000 below that because it's like, oh, you want to sell this, huh? How much do you see people right now that are in a rush to sell versus those who are kind of like, no, I know what this is worth. I'll wait around. I'm not in a rush. Like, is there a pendulum swing in one way or another right now?
I would say right now it tends to be the slower season. We're heading into fall holiday season. And so, yeah, I do sense a little bit more fear perhaps that I didn't see when we did your house, which was at the beginning of summer. Yeah. When the market was a little hotter. So, but at the same time, I think it's all person dependent because like you said, hey, I don't want to show weakness. But if somebody, and same with at the poker table, right? If you show weakness, if you show that you're scared, you're going to get picked on. Yeah. Like when you were asking me what hand to play, like I'm looking, who can I pick on? And I'm playing whatever 2 cards I have against them. And so, yeah, I think right now, and this might be an anomaly because of the election, and it's not even to say who's going to get elected and all that. I think just that the fact that that's an uncertainty right now, is causing some people a little bit of, to just make irrational decisions, perhaps.
Yeah.
And so maybe does that mean that it's more in the buyer's side right now? Maybe buyers can get a better deal right now, perhaps. Like, it's possible. And so I just think that you can't, like, you had the greatest strategy. I'm just going to sit and wait and just see what comes.
If it sells, it sells.
And we were getting, me and Mary were getting scared. We're like, oh my God, like we're like,
Yeah,
like, we felt like losers. We're getting all these showings, but no one's making an offer yet. What's going on?
Yeah.
And then boom, but that may lead us to a different topic, up to you, on the luxury space, which is a completely different kind of buyer.
Yeah.
You have to literally sit and wait patiently for a buyer who's ready to buy a house that's over $1 million. Like, these are no longer $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 houses that are just going like hotcakes. I mean, these houses tend to sit for longer in waiting for that perfect buyer from out of state, maybe a more expensive state like California or New York or somewhere.
Yeah.
And so you were so wise with just sitting and waiting, as opposed to other people that I've seen that 1 week, 2 weeks in.
I appreciate that. It makes me feel good. So I want to ask you this question about these stats, because so many people become realtors. And not so much more today, but I remember back a couple years ago, probably 5-10 years ago, it was like, if you wanted a side hustle, you get your real estate license. Like, everybody was doing it. And I don't have the exact stats here, but I think it's something like an 87% failure rate in the first 5 years. And you mentioned that in other careers that you've been in, even higher rates of failure that are there. Here's what I find most interesting. In a market where in 2022, more than half of realtors didn't sell a single home, that's the year you started in real estate, right? 2022?
Yes.
Okay. So you transitioned, from commercial real estate to becoming a residential broker. You've closed multiple $1 million listings since then. Why is it that you're winning while everyone else who's been doing this for a long time is not getting the same deals that you're getting?
Yeah, I wish I knew the answer. And sometimes I wake up and I'm like, really? Like another one? Like I do sometimes feel that, like, there's a mix of emotions. There's the, oh my God, like, can I actually do this? Can I actually do this? And then there's the, like we have to, we have no choice. We have to make this work, because I want to do the best that I can do. Like, I'm not a half-ass kind of person. I don't know if we could say cuss on here.
We'll say the F word if you want to. Okay, it's like Bill Maher on HBO. We can let it all go.
But I legit cannot. I can't do real estate as a side hustle. Like, in fact, at the time I was still working an office job, and I tried it, and I was actually now bad at both. Like, my mind was split in both directions, and I was giving subpar results on both sides. So I'm very all or none. I have to jump all the way in. And so why do so many realtors fail? The ones I think that do it as a side hustle, I don't think it's possible in this day and age. In the economy.
Why is that?
I just think that people want top-notch, stellar service. And how do you give someone, like, as best as you can when you're pulled in other directions too, if you're working another job? Not to mention, if you have a family and other things, like, how much time can you really devote to giving someone their best on their biggest transaction of their biggest asset? Like, if you flip the script, I don't want to hire anyone who does anything part-time, whether that be an electrician or a contractor. Like, if I find out, wait a minute, he's working another job somewhere, like, how?
Yeah.
Like,
I can imagine how that would feel if I'm calling you and I'm like, hey, I had a few questions about this contract before I sign. Like, hey, can you call me? I'm on, my lunch break's about to be done. Can I call you back at 5? It's like, well, wait a minute.
Yeah.
What lunch break? That's not okay.
Right.
Like, you're not the guy.
It's a big sale. It's a big purchase. We're not helping you sell a couch on OfferUp. I mean, this is like big deal. So I think that you have to be able to devote every ounce of your attention to them at their beck and call. And it sounds silly to say it, but the realtors I know that are successful actually answer their phone. I think there was a time, I don't know how long ago, when if you didn't get a call back for 2 weeks, like, you thought, wow, they must be really killing it. Like, they are so successful that they can't even call me back for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And nowadays it's like, we're all glued to our devices.
Yeah.
Like, there's no excuse
I know you saw it.
There's no excuse in this day and age. So I think the attention is in the details, and it all matters. All of it matters. And so therefore, in order to give someone your best, for me personally, I have to be all in.
Yeah. Okay. But the average realtor that comes in, I think, let's dig into the mindset, Because so many of them, I feel like, are saying, I got to work my way up to the $1 million listings. I'm going to start with this condo for 250,000, and if that goes well, then I'll work my way up and I'll leverage that experience to go there. Do you have to have the mindset that you're $1 million agent to go out and get $1 million listings? Or what do you say to the person that wants to start small and work their way up?
Yeah. I used to think like that in comedy and even in poker. It was, oh, I'm going to start at the little rinky-dink bar shows, and then maybe I'll work up to, the Improv Comedy Club. But I actually quickly learned that from seeing, like, wait a minute, I just saw this guy at the bar show and he's already at headliner status at the Improv. How did that happen?
Yeah.
And so I think it was a mindset shift. And if you think like that, then yeah, if you tell yourself, ooh, I can't sell $1 million homes for at least 10 years. Okay. I mean, sure, you can think that. Or how about rise to the occasion when opportunity presents itself? And we just got lucky and had an opportunity fall in our lap. And we said, okay, how do we maximize on this now? Like, we can do this now. And if even the things that we can't do, let's find people who can do it and let's work with them and collaborate with them so that we can make this a success. So it was more like, what are you going to do if an opportunity like that falls in your lap? You're going to say, oh no, I still need 9 more years.
Yeah.
Go away,
I'm
opportunity.
doing lower listings right now. Sorry.
I don't know. I'm a big thinker of like, hey, if the opportunity knocks, you answer it and you do your best right then and there, because you don't know when that opportunity is going to come again.
Yeah.
And then from there, it just spiraled, and it was like, well, hey, we heard you did this one, so we referred you to that one. And then the pressure again was like, oh my God, I really have to rise to the occasion again and again and again. And let's learn, because it's not like every transaction was perfect. Like, there may have been some things that I wish we had done it a little bit like differently.
Sure.
So you apply it to the next one, and then you get better and better at each one. And then before you know it, hey, now you're the person who does the luxury space.
Yeah.
And so
a bit like marketing is all about association, right? And I think some people have a limited mindset where, oh, I'm associated with the $250,000 properties. That's who I am. That's what I do. And not actively open to elevating that status up, to go after and really try to leverage what they've done to go after the bigger listings. That leverage there of having done the first one and people's perception changing of, hey, you're the $1 million agent now. Oh, you just sold that home? How much did you sell it for? Oh, shoot. Like, can you sell mine for the same price? Like, I think that's one of the things that really stands you apart from others was, even as you're working the initial listing, I think I got something in the mail from you guys that was like, hey, we have this offer live right now, and it's listed at 1.4 million or something along those lines. That's you leveraging what hasn't even gone through yet to market and say, I'm the $1 million listing guy. Like, is that what you were intending to do? Or is that like what was going through your mind as you did that marketing campaign?
yeah, absolutely. I think you have to maximize as much as you can. And still, there probably are some things that we missed that we probably could have maximized even more. But I don't know. I'm a big proponent of, hey, we may not get this opportunity again. So let's try to squeeze as much as we can out of it while we're here. Like, what's that quote? I don't know if it's Jay-Z, Eminem, one of them. They're like, I'm not supposed to be here, but I might as well make the most of it because I'm here. So it's like, hey, and what's the other quote? I'm going to butcher it. Luck meets opportunity, preparation.
Yes.
Go Google it, guys.
Success is where like preparation meets opportunity or something along those lines.
Yeah. And so it's just like, okay, we had a lucky strike, but also we were prepared at the same time to where, how do we maximize on this so that we're not just some kind of one-hit wonder or, we got lucky, but now it's back to, and that's not to say we'll still do condos. Like, I'm not, like, we do it all. Like, I have no problem with doing any of those, but yeah, for now, that's the space that we're navigating in, and I'm happy to be there. And it's just trying to make the most of it and trying to get the next one from this.
Yeah. I mean, you've mentioned luck a couple of times, and I think it brings up an interesting topic because I'm someone who believes that every entrepreneur that finds success got lucky, but they prepared long before that. When that opportunity came and fell in their lap, they knew what to do with it. That they had the knowledge or the capital, the ability to actually act upon the luck that came to them. And so when someone says to me, hey, dude, just remember that you got lucky. It's like, hey, you're not wrong. Like, I did. but I did something with that. And it seems like you did the exact same thing with this, where like multiple $1 million listings, you have to be the envy of everyone in your brokerage right now. It's just like, how are you doing this? Like when I first started, it was 100,000. Like, is that what's happening right now?
Sure. It's so funny because, and I keep bringing up the comedy, but if it wasn't for that experience, like I wouldn't be able to know how to navigate this world that I'm in, that is the real estate world now. And yeah, I saw it amongst performers that, hey man, you just started 6 months ago. How come Kevin Hart's taking you on the road, hypothetically, right? Like some big name, how come insert big name celeb is now taking you under their wing? That's not fair. It's like, yeah, but it all has to do going back with the maximizing on the opportunity and maximizing on that lucky moment.
Yeah.
That you could just say, oh, I got lucky and back to my self-limiting beliefs, or hey, I'm gonna take advantage of this and maybe I can use this to elevate myself. And then from there, how do I sustain that? I find not just getting there, but how do we stay here?
Yeah.
That's a whole nother one that I feel like you could probably talk about, because it's like what's the saying? Like all you need to do is get rich once, but how do you stay rich? Like that's a whole nother can of worms. And how do you do that? So, yeah, sure. I don't know. I do think relationships have a lot to do with it too. Like cultivating relationships, building relationships, maintaining relationships. That's what Mary's fantastic at. Like I'm probably more of the introverted one compared to her.
Sure.
She'll make best friends in an elevator, and I'm like, really, babe? Now this, But it's such a valuable tool. And it's not even like it's genuine too. Like she really just likes to make friends, and she loves getting people together. And anytime we get people together, it's like, oh, we should invite this, and this couple. And I'm like, babe, just one at a time. But she just loves bringing people together and connecting people. And I think in real estate, like, a lot of it is just relationships. At the end of the day, people want to work with people that they like.
Well, those are so important. I think, the positioning yourself there, having great relationships, being the $1 million broker. And there's got to be that mindset shift that takes place where you go from being like, wow, I'm selling $1 million homes, to be like, yeah, of course I'm selling $1 million homes. Like that's who I am now. I now embody the person who's the $1 million listing. All my marketing shows these $1 million homes I have sold and the ones that are current that are there now. And the way that you've leveraged all the previous sales into the current ones, to me, that's like the start of the snowball effect of saying, hey, we've sold 5 of these in the last year. Here's what we can do for you too. All of a sudden now, it's like, it just makes sense. Like you're the guy, you're the team to make that happen. So I find that very interesting. But you talk about how you've dealt with rejection in comedy. You know how to handle that when it comes to the real estate side of the house. You're willing to walk away from deals. What do you say to someone that wants to get involved in real estate, but is like hyper afraid of that rejection and putting themselves out there because they have that limiting belief? Like, how can they elevate their mindset to know, no, I can go sell $1 million homes. I can do this too. Do you have any advice for that person?
Yeah, it's a good question. It almost makes me think of how you said earlier, like, oh, I couldn't do stand-up. It's like, no, Steve, we're going to go do an open mic tonight after this, so get ready. Like,
I'm peeing my pants right now just thinking about that.
But
no. In front of 12 people? I can't do that.
Oh, man. But no, I think anyone who, like, has those kinds of fears, I don't know, it's kind of hard because I do think that part of you just has to want to do it. Like, you can't teach that. You can't teach that want, that over... like ambitious drive.
Yeah.
That for me, I've always been the chip on your shoulder guy. You tell me I can't sell $1 million properties, I'm gonna freaking do it now. Like now you just created a challenge in my head and I'm on a mission.
Yeah.
So like I don't know how you teach that. Those who are saying,
tell them get butthurt, okay? Like prove it to someone. But you're right about the desire element that's there. One of my mentors in the fitness space, he does this bit where he talks about, like, people think that they've got like all these different problems, and it's like, oh, the diet, I can't do that because of this. I can't do the workouts because of this. And he goes, no, you don't have the desire. You say you want it, but you don't actually want it. And so for someone to come into really any industry, whether it's business, real estate, doesn't really matter, and they say, I want to make $5 million, or I want to sell a $5 million home. The answer back is, well, how bad do you want to sell a $5 million home? Because if nothing stands between you and doing that, like, you will find a way to get it done. But we had this whole topic of discussion that went a little bit viral on Instagram about DoorDash. Can you make $100,000 on DoorDash? It's like, yeah, the person who has the desire to work 24/7, if that's what it takes to make $100K on DoorDash, can do it. As hard as it actually is, it can be done if you actually have that desire. Let's shift a little bit, and it's going to be kind of on the same topic here, inside real estate, getting back to 1.6 million licensed realtors in America. Do you know that number? Is that a number that's like widely talked about in the industry?
Yeah, I mean, there's probably close to 40,000 of them just in Vegas.
Yeah, I mean, okay, 40,000 in Vegas. So I hear 1.6 million. I don't know what the census was in America, but I think it was like 330 million. So we're saying 0.5% of people are licensed realtors in America. I would think that I would know more, but I guess I don't. So I don't know what echelon that comes into. But we talked a little bit about why they fail when they come in, but it does seem like there's lower barriers to entry because it's just go take your exam, join a brokerage, and kind of like figure out if it's for you or not. But I want to ask you about the mindset specifically, because I feel like you came in with a mindset of, I'm doing real estate. I'm going all in. Like, I will be successful in this. I'm going to iterate to a solution, compared to the person that gives real estate a try. And I'll give that a shot, see if it works.
Yeah.
You know?
Like someone who's maybe still figuring out their path and doesn't know if this is the career for them.
They haven't decided. They haven't committed. Okay. They've just said, I'm going to give it a shot and see how it goes. Yeah. Like, it seems obvious to me, but from your perspective, why isn't that person successful?
Yeah. I don't know. There's nothing wrong with trying careers out, right? I mean, all throughout my 20s, we talked about the backstory, but like, it's common for people in their 20s especially to change jobs regularly until they finally land on one that sticks. So yeah, you can always try it and see if you like it. And if you like it, freaking go all in then. Like what's stopping you? If you think that, hey, I can do something with this, why not go all the way? There's that famous poem by Charles Bukowski. I think it's called Roll the Dice. And it literally starts by saying like, go all the way. Like he just keeps saying like, go all the way. And I'm totally going to butcher the poem.
But no means.
Really though, there's something about like, if you there's no point in even starting if you can't do it your best, because at the end of the day, I'm trying to sell your house. I'm trying to get the most that I can possibly get for you and your family and for your wealth and your net worth. And if I can't give it my all, then I'm the wrong person for you. Like you deserve to hire the best. And so therefore the pressure's on me to be at my best. I can't half-ass it. Can you imagine if you came to me and you're like, hey, I want to sell my $1 million home, Dave. What do you think? And I was like, Steve, you know what? I'm just giving real estate a try. I'm just kind of trying it out. Can I experiment on selling your house?
We'll give it a shot.
What would you do?
Give it a shot. Like, you're not my guy. But I think people do that because they're so afraid of failure, afraid of being a failure, that if they say, I'm just giving it a shot to see if it works out, I'm giving myself permission to fail.
Gives them an out.
Yeah. It's like, well, I didn't really go all in with it. That's why. But it's like, that's the reason that you didn't make it too.
It's like when like you're dating, right? Like this pre-marriage, right? You're dating and you get rejected and you're like, but she wasn't even that hot anyway.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
And it's like, I don't know. I wish that the mindset towards failure was different. I think it's actually like very necessary. And you have to fail in order to learn what not to do for the next go.
Yeah.
And we are kind of conditioned to believe that failure is bad, right? In school, you get an F. Oh my God, you got a big red F on your paper. Like, you're a bad person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But in the real world, when you fail, like that just means like, this is just going to be a whole compilation of butchered quotes.
We'll just do a whole collage of them when you're done.
Yeah, but
like, watch this guy fail live on the podcast. Okay.
fail while delivering the failure quote. But there's what is the only failure is the one who gave up, right? Yeah. So as opposed to like you fail, you get back up. You fail, you get back up. The only one who failed was the one who didn't get back up.
Yeah.
So
it's striking to me because, little known fact, I went to engineering school back in 2010. I've never used anything with it, but I have an engineering degree. And every single test you take, if you do well, you get a C. like normally you're going to end up getting an F on everything. And there's a bell curve that gets you up. And I remember the first time I took a test and I got like a 35 on it or something.
And that's normal.
And I didn't know it at the time. So I remember calling my boss at the time, who encouraged me to go into engineering, and saying, hey, this is too hard for me. I can't do it. And he goes, well, have they implemented the bell curve yet? I'm like, well, what's that? Go back in the class the next day, and my 35 got moved up to a C. Wow. You know, because the way that they do it is like whoever gets like the best grade, even though that person failed too, gets an A, and then you get B's and C's that go down from that. But the lesson there for engineers is your whole career is going to be about failing and then iterating to a solution from that failure. And then we build upon the failures of people from hundreds of years ago. That's why we know how to build a bridge today, because we pass that on to the next generation. We failed here. This actually works. That's why you see some things in engineering and in science where we don't even understand like why it works, but we know that it works. And it's someone else that failed and then like, wait, what did that? I think that's the actual case with they knock you out with when you have surgery. Like anesthesia. Like they don't know why it works, but they just know that it does work.
Oh, I hope they know why.
Like somebody failed, and then actually like, no, we failed forward on that one.
Yeah.
But I think failure is super important when it comes to all things in life, and being able to look at failure as a stepping stone towards success. And clearly you have that. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been a stand-up comedian.
And even just not even like, because I feel like failure is such a harsh word. What about just the word mistakes? Like, it's okay to make mistakes as long as you learn from them. Yeah. As long as you treat them as learning lessons. Like
I embrace the word failure, because it's I know if I'm failing, I'm growing, I'm getting good.
Yeah.
And I like to know that I'm iterating off of that failure to something else. Because my line of work, we're going direct to consumer, we're marketing to people, and when that product hits or that marketing campaign hits, it's awesome. It's the best feeling in the world. But when you have those duds and you fail with it, let's figure out why we failed.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I think back to my days in the Army where we always would do these AARs, we call them after action reports. And you would go and you'd run this mission. And I never did any real Army stuff, so I'm talking about simulated war environments. You run the mission, and then you sit down and you talk about it afterwards. Hey, you died. Like, why did that happen? How do we avoid that in the future? And as a unit, like, that failure turns into this iterative process to get better at something over time. And I feel like people who aren't put into environments to fail frequently maybe don't have that as a baseline to know that in their career, failure is actually a good thing. Is it because you had the stand-up comedy and the poker background where you knew you were going to fail? Like, statistically, you had to fail in order to get good, that now in the middle of your career now, you embrace that failure, and it's almost attributed as one of the things that's put you where you are today. Is that how you think about it?
I think so. I think any mistake, any bit of failure always stings, whether it's a comedy bomb, whether it's making a read at the poker table and being wrong about it, or just making any kind of mistake throughout a transaction. It always stings, and it always sticks with me enough to know that, okay, let's not do it that way again. Like, we have to adjust, we have to change, and we have to do something that's different so that we are better the next go.
Yeah.
And it's just, that's it. I mean, that's why athletes watch game tape, right? Like you constantly have to watch yourself and see outside of yourself and really know, like, am I doing this correctly? Like, am I doing this to the best of my ability? Is it going well? Is there a way that I could do this better? And really just, it's like a never ending process. I always feel like the second you think you know it all, like, that's the beginning of your downfall.
Yeah. Like, humility. Poker will keep you humble. I know the feeling of calling somebody's bluff. You put your 200 chips out there to call it, and you were wrong. And you watch the dealer just rake that away from you and put it over there. And like the shame that you feel.
All the players
like
staring at you.
Everyone saw it. It was public.
Thinking?
It happened. You lay those cards down. It's like, yeah, of course he had ace king, man. Did you see what he was betting the whole time? You called him with deuces?
Yeah.
Like, that will keep you humble. Okay, we got to shift on this because I want to ask you this question. Is experience as a realtor always a good thing?
Yes and no.
Okay. Why do you say that?
When you say what kind of experience, I think life experience, knowing how to talk to different types of people, knowing how to manage people, I think that gives you an advantage. So if you're in your young 20s and you haven't really been out in the world and met all different walks of life, you might be at a disadvantage. but also there's the level of experience that could be limiting for you. I know realtors that are 20 plus years in this, and they're so set in their ways that they're not willing to adjust to the changes in the industry, to the changes in maybe there's realtors out there who only knew one kind of market. I mean, we've been in an interesting market now, but for a long time we were in a good bull run after the 2008 crash, right? And so a lot of realtors kind of just got used to like, well, this is just how it always is. And maybe
they're like institutionalized.
Maybe they never really worked like a tough market, like a really tough. Like we haven't really had a crazy crash or recession since '08. Thankfully, I mean, yes, you could argue COVID. COVID was definitely actually. COVID's an interesting one too. There's realtors that got started during COVID that thought this is the easiest thing in the world.
Yeah.
When there's 50 offers on one house.
I could have sold some homes during COVID.
You could have sold your house unfinished, like wires hanging out of the walls, and you would have gotten 50 offers on it. No appraisal, no inspection, nothing.
Those are the good old days, huh?
And those realtors were like, this is easy. I could do this in my sleep. So I do think experience, depending on what you're experienced in, you have to be willing to constantly adjust. And I think that's in any industry. I mean, AI is coming, right? Or it's already here now.
Yeah.
And so if you're not embracing those tools, how is your business doing versus other businesses that are saying, no, I'm too experienced. I already know how to do my business.
I think there's a shift that's happening right now because you have an environment where 20 years ago, you take the person with 50 years of experience because they know their way around it. But now, in the age of AI and technology and all the stuff that's happening in the world, and it's commoditizing faster and faster, I want the young person who has a figured out attitude, who's done it for 1 year and isn't institutionalized, over the person who goes, I've been doing this for 40 years. Like, this is how you sell a home in this market.
Yeah.
Like, that can't work, right?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Like, you need someone who's willing to think outside the box and who's willing to adjust in the current landscape, because the landscape's always changing. But also what can't be denied either is the experience in knowing your way around the city that you're doing real estate in. So if you're a neighborhood professional, you know every pocket of every neighborhood in town, like that's valuable. And that can't be learned in your first year or two. Like you really have to learn the city. So there are aspects to where experience works as an advantage, as long as you're not so close-minded to where you think, going back to thinking you know it all.
Yeah.
If those people think they know it all, I know it all. I've been doing it 40 years. This is how you do it. Oh, really? Like you're not like looking at what's going on in the current landscape. So I don't know if you can hybrid the intangible experience with being able to change. I think that's what makes you indestructible.
What do you think about, for new realtors, fake it till you make it? Like acting like you've been there, done that. It's your first listing, your first sale. Should you embrace that and tell them this is my first time? Or do you act like and lean on the experience of the brokers that are in your group? What are your thoughts on fake it till you make it?
Yeah. So I like face it till you make it as opposed to fake it till you make it. Because fake it till you make it means that like you're unqualified, you don't know what you're doing, and you're just phoning it in. Whereas I believe you face the challenges that come with every step of the way. Just take it step by step. Okay, I don't know what I'm doing. That's fine. Who do I know that does know? Okay, maybe I can call on them. Maybe I can outsource. Maybe I can hire someone to hold my hand throughout this so that one day I do know what I'm doing. Because yeah, I don't know. I think it's very popular to say fake it till you make it, because that gives people like an out to like, oh, I don't have to put in any work. And then, but like
client facing to someone like me who's like, no, I experience like youth, or I like youth in the industry because I know that you're going to use out of the box techniques and you're looking for a way to make it happen, versus the person who's been there for a long time. As you're dealing with clients that are maybe view the world a little bit different than I do, like, do you leverage the experience of the team, or just be brutally honest and say, hey, like, I've done this many transactions. This has been the result. Like, how did you approach that on your first transaction?
Yeah, I think I got lucky because I had a mentor. So like you said, with the team, I started on a team. And so I had the experience of the team to bounce ideas off of and get help from. So I was always transparent. I said, hey, I'm on a team. And so therefore, you're not just going to get me, but you're going to get the combined people on this team with a combined, 20, 30 years worth of experience. And so however you operate, I think transparency is key. So I think if you try to fake it and you try to come in there like, yeah, I've got 30 years of experience. And they're like, oh, really? Because you're only 22. How does that work?
Yeah, right.
So, but if you do,
authenticity wins there, huh?
yeah, I think just going back to being genuine.
Okay, we're going to go into the lightning round. And this is the round where if you have an answer, great. If not, we'll just pass and go on to the next one. I'm going to ask you 7 questions here, and we'll see where this goes. What's the biggest risk you've taken in life? Comedy, poker, or real estate?
Honestly, all of them are big risks. But without the comedy and the poker, I wouldn't have been able to even remotely try or attempt the real estate. I think the 2 before that gave me the confidence and the skill set to do real estate that to the level that I'm doing it today.
What's the one piece of advice you'd give someone who feels like a failure in the eyes of others, family, friends, of their expectations versus the decisions that they're making?
Yeah, I guess at the end of the day, are you hurting yourself? Are you hurting others? Are you making progress with whatever it is that you're doing? Can you see that progress? Is it tangible? Can you measure it? And at the end of the day, if you can answer those questions in a way that you are improving and getting better and doing better each and every day, and you're hitting your goals, then I think one day those people that tell you you can't will eventually turn around and will give you the praise that you deserve. There's that famous quote where it says, first they're going to make fun of you, and then they're going to ask you how you did it.
Yeah. What's a common real estate myth that drives you insane?
That it's easy.
What's one thing that people don't know about the Las Vegas real estate market?
Las Vegas real estate market's very different from the rest of the country. We are in a town that is constantly growing, constantly building. And just when you think that what can they do after they build a gigantic sphere, now they're on to getting a freaking baseball team and a baseball stadium, what's that stadium going to look like? Is it going to be a sphere stadium? Like it's going to be a Las Vegas style stadium.
Yeah.
On the Strip. Are you serious? Like this town is unlike any other town in the entire world. So real estate in this town, I'm very fortunate to be able to do real estate here, as well as just see this town grow and grow. And just when you didn't think it would grow, it keeps growing.
What's the most underrated skill a realtor needs that most people overlook?
I think being able to handle pressure and staying calm in the face of pressure. I think when you feel like everything's crumbling, you have to be able to handle it logically and not emotionally. You, the client, you can be emotional. Hey, David, I'm freaking out. I can't freak out. I have to be your best representative and think the most clearly so that you get the best result.
What's more stressful, a live poker game or a high-stakes real estate negotiation?
Well, I guess it depends on how much money we're playing the live poker game.
Yeah, okay. What's the equivalent of like the high-stakes $1 million listing negotiation? How much would you have to have on the table for it to feel the same way? There's got to be that moment where you know that you've pushed your chips in and you know you're bluffing, or you're pretty sure you're beat and the heart starts beating outside the chest.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what's the equivalent of that in real estate?
Yeah, in real estate, the same. Like if we have an offer and it's a good offer, but maybe the seller feels like, nope, I think we can get a little bit better, and they're willing to forego that great offer on the off chance that maybe we'll get a better offer. How long will that take? Will that be another 3 to 6 months?
Yeah.
What's going to happen to the market in that time? So that can be nerve-wracking. But also, at the end of the day, if the seller has the appetite for that type of risk, then hey, I'm coming along the ride with you.
Yeah. It's nice that the incentives are aligned there so that it's like if you get them more, like you get more too to go along with it. Let me ask you about the elephant in the room in real estate right now, because a couple months back, there was that lawsuit against was it National Association of Realtors? And as far as consumers are concerned, there's this thing out there now where you don't have to pay your buyer's agent, or at least if you're the seller, you're not responsible for the buyer's agent fees based on that lawsuit. Can you break this down as a realtor for lay people to understand, like, what is actually going on here? Because to my knowledge, like, there's no one who's not paying both buyer and sellers listing fees right now.
Yeah, so I would say that what majorly changed is that you cannot disclose the percentage that the buyer's agent gets on the listing. which there was some debate back and forth there because there are some sellers that say, hey, I want to disclose that. I want this to be an incentive to bring the buyers to buy my house. And so, but then there was the other argument that said, ooh, but what happens if you disclose a lower number? You're not going to incentivize people to bring in buyers to help buy your house. So either way, now with the disclosure, you have to basically sign something with the buyer that says, hey, I'm going to negotiate this much for my percentage, me, the buyer's agent. And if the seller decides, hey, I don't want to pay that, then it's going to unfortunately come out of the buyer's pocket, which it never did in the past. It always was part of the seller's fees. So now we're in a really interesting place where it's part of the negotiation, just like the offer, just like everything else. Oh, I want these repairs done and I want money for those repairs. So it's just another piece of the negotiation at the end of the day. I would love to know your take on you, the seller, what you think is best to help sell a house.
Well, here's my thoughts on it, because I just have yet to meet the seller of a home who was like, man, it's fucked up that I have to pay that buyer's agent. But it goes back to your initial thought in the lightning round of that people think it's easy. So if sellers aren't upset to pay the commission because they're happy that the house sold, where does this come from? Are there outside forces of people who think, well, being a realtor is easy. You just put up a listing on Zillow, the house sells, and you get 6% for that or 3% to both agents? Like, that's easy. Like, I could do that. Anyone could do that. Who's saying that it's too much money?
I don't know. I mean, there's when you mention forces, I think that down the road, 5, 10, 20, however many years down the road, I think they're going to try to automate it the same like with anything else. If you can buy and sell a house on an app, how long before that happens? I don't know. With the AI revolution and everything, who knows? You know, we the realtor, we could be dinosaurs. I don't know.
I mean, that you think about blockchain technology and the ability to do smart contracts. Can you sell a house on an NFT? Somebody proved that you could. So do you need title companies? Do you need the government to certify who owns it? Or can the blockchain tell us who owns the home? I'm very interested in that stuff. It's coming for sure.
Multi-billion-dollar question and answer, right? But also at the end of the day, going back to relationships, I still think that there are enough personalities out there who need to talk to a human. I don't know about you, but anytime I call customer service for anything, if I get a robot and I have to dial this and dial that, and can I just speak to a human? So I think the same applies with your largest asset, your largest buy, your largest sell. So in my opinion, I think that there's always going to be people who want to just do it through the computer, but there's also going to be plenty of people who actually want the face-to-face, who want to be able to call someone and say, hey, what does this mean? This happened now.
Yeah.
Can you explain that? And
that's for decades to come.
Yeah.
Because even if you had young people today who are like, oh, I can just do it myself on this AI, you have all the people who don't really trust the AI. And I would say like late 30s and on is kind of like, no, I'm going to deal with a human being to take care of this for me, you know? I've got someone that I know who still likes to go to the bank and cash checks themselves personally. I'm not going to trust this little machine on the desk. Like, how do I know if it gets there or not?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, come
we're
on, technology.
Long ways away. And what kind of fraud and all that kind of stuff, what kind of scammers will come of such a shift like that when you try to eliminate all these institutions that have been doing this for the past 100 years?
And then the lobby. So Congress getting involved to keep that from happening and to keep maybe innovation, hold it back because they're worried about who's going to be scammed by all of this and the people that won't be safe from it. It does seem like everybody's coming for realtors commissions one way or another. You got Zillow out there taking their cut from it. You got Redfin trying to cut agents out of it or using theirs and reduce fees. I see signs on the highway for, we'll sell your house for 1%. Like someone had a flat fee that they would sell the house for. This is certainly an environment where a realtor needs to stand out amongst the rest and the noise and not be down with the bottom feeders trying to work on, I'll do it for 0.75%. You know, like, is that kind of what's on your mind as you think about coming into this industry, how fast everything is changing, but leaning into it to not be playing down there, but to elevate yourself above that?
Yeah, sure. I think in this life, no matter what, real estate, anything else, you get what you pay for. And I was going to say you're the Amazon guy, but I know you don't want to be.
I don't want to be the Amazon guy.
I don't want to be the
But I'm not the Amazon guy. Anyone listening, I'm not the Amazon guy.
Amazon is your business, so therefore I have bought the most cheap product on Amazon, and then I've also paid a little bit extra to get quality. So I think it's always going to be quality over quantity. Sure, you can chase the 1%, you could chase the flat fee. Again, biggest purchase, biggest sale of most people's lives for their own wealth and net worth. Why skimp out? Why try to save some money here and there for something that could go horribly wrong? I know 1% agents, they don't answer their phone. You're never going to meet them. You'll meet their picture, and then you'll deal with an assistant or this and that. I've worked with Redfin agents. I don't know if it's changed, but I know that they're not incentivized because they get paid a fixed salary. They don't get paid based on the closing of the transaction, which is the biggest incentive for this thing to go well.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that you don't get paid until this thing closes gives you every incentive to make sure that this thing goes smoothly all the way to the end. Because if you're getting paid along the way, what incentive do you have to hope that this even sells? So I just think you get what you pay for. Don't try to save money on the biggest sale of your life.
Let's talk about marketing a little bit. I think that a lot of people would say that with 1.8 million realtors, it's a pretty saturated market. So standing out from the crowd, being one of the good ones, obviously you've got the $1 million listings that separates you from the average realtor that's there. But what's the most overrated piece of advice that realtors give other realtors about standing out in a saturated market?
In marketing, it's not just about your billboard. It's not just about a photo or a picture or a video of you stepping out of a Lamborghini in a fancy Armani suit.
Yeah.
I think those days had its moments, right? Or the lady in the stilettos and the fancy pearls and like, wow, they're so successful. Oh wow, they've made it. Like now I think marketing has to do with like being your most authentic, genuine self publicly, which is really hard to do, especially when you previously everything was just kind of two-dimensional. It was just look at this successful realtor or whatever business that they're in. Wow, look at the fancy car, look at the fancy clothes. And now it's just about like who are these people as people? And do I want to work with these humans? Like, do they vibe with what I do? Like, do they have kids the way I have kids? Or are they into pets? Or what do they like to eat? Like nowadays with the way content is going, like the fact that there's no more privacy per se.
Yeah.
Like everything is public now. Everybody's putting, their plates on social media and, oh, look at me. I just worked out. Like I want to know who this human is before I let them into my house, before I let them try to sell my house. So,
well, it's funny too, because back in the day, it'd be like, I don't want to see your plate of food on Facebook. And now it's like, no, I do want to know what Kim Kardashian's eating for lunch. Like I'm interested to know like what that lifestyle looks like. People want to know that stuff. What do you think about these like TikTok realtors? Have you seen them? Mm-hmm. They make this content, or they're rapping on some like viral audio that's there. They're getting attention.
Yeah.
What say you to that?
I say get the attention however which way you can get the attention. As long as you can deliver. Like, can you deliver on the product, right? Like the marketing's one piece, but do you actually have a good product or service? So if you have that, then you've struck lightning. But if you're one but not the other, if you've got insane marketing and wow, he's got viral videos, but you don't even know the first thing about a due diligence period.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you really
wonder about some of those guys. I mean, it's not like I think that like most rappers are the most astute when it comes to like the biggest transaction of your life. So, I mean, he's getting the attention that's there. And I've seen I don't even know his name, but I've seen his content and it certainly resonates with me. But I just wonder, I don't know. I just don't think that like rapping and realtoring and rapping, if I can make up some words, I don't know if those two go together.
And you know what? I'm glad you bring that up because really though, like at the end of the day, not every realtor's right for you per se, you the client, not just you, Steve, but everyone's got their own vibe. So it goes back to it being a relationship business. Like, are we both compatible to do this transaction together?
Yeah.
And so, hey, maybe those realtor raps might vibe well with somebody else in the younger generation. Maybe that's the new way. Maybe me and Mary need to start rapping. We need to start a rap career.
Maybe you should. I mean, the TikTok dances, the rapping, it gets attention. But there's like this broader topic up here. It's getting attention however you can, like brand awareness is phenomenal. But if you would have asked me a month ago if you should just get attention, I don't know, I'd say, no, well, don't do anything that's going to get people to change their mind about you. Like, you got to stay professional. Well, then this Hawk Tour girl does her thing. And you know the number 3 podcast in America? What is it called? It sounds like Hawk Tour, but it's like, that's the number 3 podcast in America right now.
Yeah.
Like, she's making a huge bag from that moment. And it almost tells a story that, no, in 2024, just get the attention however you can and then find a way to monetize on the back end. Whether it ruins the image of your career today or not, it'll be better on the back end of that. Like, do you believe in that?
Yes and no. I feel like it's always been like that before social media. Wasn't it always about what celebrity is up to and what they're doing? And, oh, this celebrity did something crazy. Can you believe so-and-so? Like, even way back in the 90s, like back when, how many channels did we have compared to the
right.
We have like unlimited, like literally infinite channels now. And so I think getting attention has always been a human component. It's always been something in the world of celebrity especially. And so now with social media, now it's just, how do we get attention in the current medium that everyone is tuned into?
Yeah.
And whatever the next medium is going to be, how do we get attention in that medium too? And then of course the advertisers are going to come in and follow that, just like they always have. So I don't think anything's really different. I just think that now if TikTok's the main medium, people have found a way to get attention on TikTok. And I say, if you're selling a product or service, just make sure that the product or service is also as good as your marketing is, because then what are you really doing? Then it goes back to like, now you're just faking it and you're not even close to making it. Because at the end of the day, you want to provide a good service, right? Or a good product to people so that they can benefit.
So, I mean, you're winning in this game. You're closing deals at times other people are having a lot of trouble getting listings and closing deals. What do you do different in your marketing? Is that something that sets you apart from the average realtor who's not winning right now?
Yeah, I think I have a $1 million wife, and she kills it on the marketing side. I mean, her background comes from business marketing, not just like social media marketing, but like, you know, when we lived in Chicago, like she had a job in the Sears Tower, like she was doing financial marketing. Like, I don't even know what that means, to be honest.
Yeah, me either.
You know what I mean? And then she shifted to real estate marketing, and she worked for some of the top realtors in Las Vegas before I was even licensed. And so when I became a realtor, like she immediately became my boss. She goes, okay, this is what these realtors did. We're going to do this for you now. I said, yes, boss, you got it. But like she really, I lucked out, obviously, not just in life to have a partner like that, because, you know, I mean, we clicked way before we were even in real estate. Like, and it just so happened that we obviously work together very well, and I'm lucky for that. So to me, that's invaluable. If you're single and you're in real estate, find yourself a spouse that can help you. I really think the advantage that we have is the fact that like we're constantly talking real estate and bouncing ideas and, oh, I think that idea is dumb. You should do this idea. We're constantly butting heads, but we're like making progress as we come up with ideas and things like that. So I don't know. I guess if you don't have a spouse or partner like that, like just try to find a business partner, someone that you can work with that can help you see outside of yourself.
Yeah.
It's really hard to be self-aware when you're just a one-man show. Like you need someone who can be like, hey, that thing you did, like do a little bit less of that. Like try this for next time. Like it's really good to have ideas bounce off.
Good team on that too.
Gotta have
which
a good
is
team.
Rare. The ability to be able to kind of feed off of each other and have similar interests and be able to work together too, which is hard for a lot of couples to navigate that. I think you guys do that very well. Okay, last question for you. Where do you see the real estate market 5 years from now? Do you see growth in the future? Do you see rates coming down? I know that you don't have a crystal ball, but let's give it your best guess. And then if you're way off on it, we'll post this video 5 years from now. But this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. But where do you see the market 5 years from now?
5 years from now? Okay, so we get through the election, we get through rate cuts. What does a post-rate cuts environment look like? To me, I think it's going to be lower rates, higher prices. I think that people are going to take on lower rates, and they're going to be happy to take on lower rates. But because of that, buyers are going to come out of the woodwork, because these are the buyers that said, I'm only going to buy once rates go down. So now here's your opportunity. Rates are coming down. They just got cut by 0.5, and they're going to get cut again and again over the next couple of years in the rate cut cycle that we're about to enter. And so is that going to cause more people to be incentivized to sell their house? If so, now we have more inventory. More inventory with lower rates will be a really interesting environment, because usually the more supply, won't the prices come down with the more supply? Because right now supply is kind of constricted, therefore the prices have been up. So it will be interesting to see, what does more supply but also enticing rates look like. I have to believe for the city of Las Vegas, as much as we're growing, I have to believe we're just on a nonstop path of growth right now, up until the next black swan events that really causes things to happen. But I was listening. I like to listen to, I don't know, you probably listen like CNBC and like the Money Channel and all that kind of stuff early in the morning. But they were talking about how the majority of our lifetime we have been in a bull market, meaning that even when we're in bear markets on average are about typically like 13 months on average.
Yeah.
So the majority of our lives are during bull markets. We experience these dips. We'll call them dips, but even when they're crashes, if you look at a graph, it's usually an upward trajectory with little crash dips in the graph.
Yeah.
But so it's always, not always, but most of the time it's up.
Yeah.
And so I think it's maintaining a positive outlook on growth for real estate, for the real estate market, for Las Vegas especially. I think that's the way to play it.
If I could sum up your story, I think I would say you've taken some big swings in life, but I think you've also bet on yourself a lot. And you're doing that right now, being in business for yourself as a realtor, really growing the Gavri name and putting it out there. But it's the same thing you were doing in comedy. It's the same thing that you were doing in poker, is just betting on yourself, taking big swings, moving forward. But I love that you have resiliency and then embracing the failures all the way through. I think that's a lot of what makes you as successful as you are, is the ability to know that, yeah, this is a setback. I learned from it, take a step forward from there. So this has been really awesome for me to see. I appreciate you doing it. Let me just ask for people that want to work with you, that want to find you, that are looking for a great realtor in Las Vegas, how do they get in contact with you?
Sure. Okay. Our first place is Gavri Group on Instagram. We also have a podcast called Vegas Faces, where we just like to talk to the people of Las Vegas, see the everyday side of Vegas, what it's like to live in the entertainment capital of the world. And so, yeah, I would say between those two spots, if you like audio only, we're on Apple Podcasts. We're also on Spotify. But yeah, I would say just Gavri Group Instagram, and that will feed you into
get you into the funnel from there.
Yeah, that'll.
I love that. So if you're moving to Vegas, have a home in Vegas that you want to sell, I can personally vouch for you guys, having just closed on my house, was like 2 months ago, something along those lines. So it was great to work with you guys. And thank you for coming and doing this. I think there's a lot of lessons that people can learn, whether they're aspiring entrepreneurs, current entrepreneurs, looking for growth in their world, from your story, but also an understanding of, like, you're winning in an environment that most people are losing. And what are you doing differently? And you really laid out a lot of those secrets here today. And so I'm excited to put this out for everyone, for them to see it. So thank you for doing it.
Thank you for having me, Stephen. This was really great.